Okay, today we are diving into past expungements in your background history and what it means to you. And do you need to disclose them when it comes to your police questionnaire or your police hiring process? Let's discuss. So those gifts are down in the description for you. The first one being the Getting Started workshop for police officers. It's going to walk you through each stage of the hiring process, and it has that free online course, or correction, that free online exam. There we go. That free online exam, written exam that you can test, see where you are in a police officer selection test. Next is the one-on-one coaching call with myself. If you have something that's specific to you and your hiring process and you need answers or you have questions, I'd be glad to help any way I can. Just jump on, sign up for a coaching call with myself, and we will discuss it. Now, expungements. What does an expungement mean to you? What do sealed records mean? What does all that mean in your hiring process? And do you have to disclose it? This is a nuanced question I get asked a lot, and it is a very difficult question to answer for one particular reason. An expungement or sealed records cannot be accessed, right? They shouldn't be able to be accessed. I shouldn't say they cannot be accessed. If you're applying to the department that you were, that you had an issue with, and that issue eventually got expunged or sealed, that department's still going to have their own records of the incident, right? Those records don't get sealed. What gets sealed are your court records and the ultimate outcomes, or that's what gets expunged is the ultimate outcomes. Now, do you need to disclose it? Here's the catch-all. Legally, based on your sealed records or expungement, the answer is no, right? Those do not need to be legally disclosed during during an application when applying to a job. Here's the catch-all. Here's how law enforcement get you. You fill out a police history questionnaire, and it is completely voluntary, right? You don't have to fill it out with regards to you won't get the job for failure to improperly complete it, but you don't have to. No one's forcing you to do it. You're applying to this position, and no one can force you. The caveat here is that at the end of it, it tells you that, hey, everything on this document is truthful and honest, and I didn't omit or leave anything out. And there usually is a question that they ask on the police questionnaire that says, have you ever had anything expunged or sealed? Please list any expungements, and then it tells you to describe the incidents. That is a tricky situation, because while in the criminal history section, have you ever been charged or convicted of this? If it's expunged or sealed and you by law don't have to disclose it, then you're fine there. But then the catch-all is have you ever had anything expunged or sealed? And then it will say, please, explain. And then down at the bottom, you sign the paper, or when you submit it, it says, by submitting this, you agree that everything you've said is truthful and honest, and you did not lie or lie by omission. That's the catch-all, right? That is where they're going to get you. So you would not technically have to list it had there not been a question of, have you ever had any criminal activity expunged, right? Or any arrest expunged. It doesn't even have to be criminal activity. Maybe you were arrested or falsely arrested for something, and you didn't want that on your record that you were arrested, right? Because then you have to put it down on a job application. So then you pay the money and you go through the legal process to have it properly expunged. But then the police department asks you, have you ever had anything expunged? And if you say yes, then they want to dive into it and ask you about it. And you could take the route of, hey, it's expunged. All those records are gone. They don't exist. I prefer not to discuss it. And that's great. The background investigator is going to say, okay, hey, I appreciate it. I would like to know a little bit more about it just so we could have a reference, but I understand what you're saying. And then they're going to take your file and move it over to the dismissed. and you're just going to not be the best selected candidate. And they can do that, right? They can do that. They're not going to tell you that they're not selecting you due to an expungement, due to failure to disclose an expungement, right? They're not going, because that would be illegal. They would never say that. They would just say, hey, we have better, more qualified applicants. And their justification will say, hey, we have applicants that, have expungements, and they were honest and truthful about it, right? And they were open about it, and that's the character that represents our department. That's how they're going to swing it. So the short answer is, by law, you don't need to disclose it. For a police questionnaire, because it's a voluntary questionnaire, right? Now people say, hey, it's not voluntary, I have to do it to get a job, right? But no one's forcing you to do it. No one is forcing you to complete it, because no one's forcing you to apply to be a law enforcement officer. So each one of these is kind of a catch-22. You really just need to understand that the best way to go about it is to be honest, right? And I'm going to say this again. When you're being honest, be specific, but don't elaborate, right? Hey, yep, I've had this expunged, and this was found to be, let's just say an arrest. This was found to be a false arrest. Therefore, I went through the proper channels and had it expunged, and the courts granted it. Oh, well, can you elaborate on that this is what it was? There's nothing to elaborate. I mean, I could tell you the department that conducted it or whatnot, but that's not it. You're specific. Hey, this is what happened. It was false. It was expunged. End of story. So now we're at the point to where you just have to decide on, is this something that you can properly explain, right? I wouldn't say don't disclose it for the sheer fact of you don't want to lie by omission, right? Because now chances are they probably wouldn't find out about the expungement unless they contacted the local law enforcement in the places you reside, right? In your hometowns. Hey, we're doing so-and-so applied for a police officer position. We're conducting a background. Is there anything on your guys' database that has this? And that depends on what type of clearance you need for the position you're applying to. If you're applying to the FBI, they're going to find out about it. If you're applying to a local department in a different state, unlikely. If you're applying to a neighboring department in that state, probably find out about it, right? They'll contact the local department because they probably have rapport with them. So keep this in mind. And an expungement, yes, legally it doesn't need to be disclosed because it's expunged. It's not there. It doesn't. If someone asks, hey, have you ever been arrested? Nope, it's gone. It didn't happen. That's the whole purpose of an expungement. Whereas the police history questionnaire specifically asks, have you ever had anything expunged? And that's a yes or no question. And the only way you can, if you've had something expunged, the only way you can say no is by lying. So like I said, it's a catch-22. I wish I had a little bit more for you there, just because it is what it is. Honesty is always the best policy, but be specific and don't elaborate. Okay, those gifts are down in the description. The Getting Started workshop, it's going to walk you through each stage of the hiring process, and it has a practice written exam in it with some added bonuses. That exam is self-scored, so it's automatically scored, so to give you your answers right after you submit it. And then the one-on-one coaching call with myself, if you have something specific to your hiring process or that you want to know before you start your hiring process, I'm here to help. Anything I can do. As always, stay safe, and I will see you next time.